Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance, and this battle has started rather promptly. It's a Lorraine 155 Milli 50. This is the Tier 7 French SPG, and we're located on the defending spawn of Erlenberg, and I suspect that he had loading problems, which is why all of a sudden we find ourselves in the game unexpectedly when it started. Okay, he's pulling away into the distance. Okay. I think he's trying to find his firing position. The name of the commander is xachan. Now, what can I tell you about the Lorraine? Well, based on the chassis of a Lorraine 40T tank, the 40-ton tank, which is a medium tank, so it's quite fast. It's got a 155mm howitzer, and what else? Well, designed in 1950, but the design was not put into production. It was discontinued in favour of the Bachatillon Artys, but they were discontinued as well. And he gets a solid hit on that T26E4. 266 hit points there. Reload's fairly good. It's not fantastically fast. About the same as the M12 in terms of reload speed. We've got a xachan there up on that rise. Of course, these maps have changed dramatically since 1.0 came out, but it appears that the enemy have made most of their thrust up this side and dropped just as far as the hill. And then they've come across a whole huge number of defending tanks clinging to the other side of the hill. And he gets a kill shot there on the xachan for 192 hit points. And there's a T150 he can hit now. Tier 6 Soviet heavy. Okay, he's going to dial in on that one. He is stationary. He was taking shots. Almost ready to go. Okay, he's dialed in. Work out where he's going to be. And round out. No, he's turned away. So he splashed in for 133. The shell landed just to one side. He anticipated he was just going to reverse without turning. But of course he did turn at the last moment to stay on the flat. Okay, these are the attacking tanks on the enemy team. That defender. Yeah. They're difficult nuts to crack. It looks to me like xachan's going to go over to the other side of the battlefield. They seem to have made good ground on the other side, and this is unusual because it's usually this side of the battlefield which is the one that would be defended quite well, and the other side the enemy would actually make a lot of ground on. But with these map changes, the enemy seem to have difficulty, or they've broken through now, so actually most of xachan's team are headed towards the buildings on the river. And he fires around in where he thought that T29 was. And he's going to have to get out of there quick now, because the enemy is headed this direction. And if he doesn't get out of there quick, he's going to be toast. Okay, now this is where the 40T comes in, the fast tan, the 40-ton tank. Having that 40-ton tank chassis really does make a difference. He's going to have to ford across the river here. Okay, through the ford. Gets a bit deep here, so he actually starts drowning for a second. That's a good change that they've made actually here, because if you sit in that water, before you could actually sit in the ford and sit there permanently. But now you can't, because it's deep water. After all, it is a river. Okay, he's headed off for what used to be known as the corner of Fail, but has actually changed again quite dramatically. They've altered the shape of the river here. These riverbanks are quite lethal as well. If you go over to the edge, you're going to have to crawl along the edge of the bank until you can get to a part where you can crawl back out again. You can't get up there directly. I don't think you could do that before actually, but at least you had a little more safety. Okay, he's headed down towards the castle as well. There's some nice bushes down here to fire from if you do have to fight a west-east engagement. Now that means the cap is rather exposed, and this is an assault battle. You don't really want to leave the cap open to the enemy in an assault battle, but it seems that most of the defending team have headed off down south. And so xachan has done the same. He's headed off down south. Now, whether or not the enemy decides to come down this way, I mean, really, they ought to cap. There's 4 minutes 30 seconds to go. They have started capping. Right, they followed my suggestion. That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to cap. And a few of their tanks are in the town centre, on the buildings alongside the riverbank. It's where most of the engagement now takes place on for heavy tanks. Normally it's mediums and tank destroyers will go up onto the hills, but now the heavy tanks seem to occupy the town and use the buildings and the riverbanks itself as a means of actually moving up the map. Okay, there's a T-29, full strength as well, hasn't been touched yet, but I think xachan's about to hit him right into his side. I lost sight of him temporarily. Should have fired at that point, I think. Yep, he should have fired because he was still there. Okay, round out. Side on. Okay, 257 hit points of damage. Nice long stun. Okay, the FV4202 is going back to reset the cap. And here we go. Is he reset it yet? No, not yet. I think he's waiting until it gets nice and long and he gets a reset and gets a defender medal into the process. Okay, now he can get his defender medal. And any second now, is xachan going to do it for him? Well, no, because the FV4202 got it. He got there ahead of him, but xachan's going to do what he can to get rid of that Panther, and the shell goes in where the Panther was, but the Panther's taken down. He's killed by the AMX AC-46. Right, there's still 5 enemies left. 5 on xachan's team. There's that T-150 again. Let's say heavy tanks in the centre of the map. Oh, they just lost one. They lost the OI. Taken up by the T-29. And there's a defender nearby xachan. Oh, suddenly he's losing teammates. He's hemorrhaging teammates. He's now down to just 2 teammates and him. Fires them round in. The defender gets a direct hit. Okay, he's going to have to relocate. That defender is fairly close. He needs to move fast and move north. Oh, he's just lost another teammate to the MX AC-46 tank destroyer. Went down. Now, what's he going to do? Is he going to try and cross the river? Well, I'd hope not. It's fairly deep, fairly slow across there, so he might have problems trying to get across. There is a fording place, just a little further up here on the left. But there was a T-29 there. I'm sure he actually stopped just in case the T-29 saw him. But he can't see the T-29 now, but he's crossing open ground. And that's a bit dangerous because the T-29 does see him. They'll put a round into him. I'm not sure if he's trying to get back to the cap to do a reset. Okay, the enemy started capping, but there's not enough time for them to cap unless they get 2 into the cap. The FV4202 is the other side of the cap. There's only 1 in the cap, but they could get another one in soon. Oh, he's been spotted. I would think so, even though he's dropped into the river. Okay, now he's on his own. He fires a shot in, takes out the T-29. 263 hit points, but he's got to get out of the water fast. Now he needs to head in the opposite direction, deed him out away from that cap. If he stays here, he's on a Kolobanov. If he can survive another 35 seconds. The enemy are headed in this direction. A T-150, there's the edge of the map. That's going to slow him down. You need to stay away from the edge of the map. Don't stay at the edge of the map. That's it. You're faster when you're moving. And that's it. The battle time's expired. In fact, that's a bit odd because we're still showing 13 seconds on the clock. So, very, very odd. But the enemy did try to cap and failed. And the battle has ended. So yeah, it looks to me like that was a Kolobanov. Let's have a look at the end of battle stats. Well, it was a third-class tanker for xachan in the Lorraine 155 Milli 50. He also picked up a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. He got 7. And of course, he picked up the medal that everyone would like to get, the Kolobanov Medal for standing alone against 5 enemy tanks and surviving. And in fact, actually, the FV4202 was taken out just a second or so before he shotgunned that T29 in the cap, took him out, which meant that at the end it was 4 versus 1. But they couldn't kill him in time to win the battle, so he capped out, or rather the clock ran out, and he won the game. Let's have a look at the team scores. Well, he didn't get the highest damage. He came third on damage, 1,298 hit points, but he did come top on kills with 2, and he came 5th with base XP of 533. He fired 9 rounds, got 5 direct hits, 5 penetration, 1 splash, damage of 1,298 hit points, of which 1,035 were at more than 300 meters. He hit 5 of the enemy but killed 2 of them. He also did damage assistance of 229 hit points and caused 4 stuns. He also managed to get 3 defense points on the cap when he took out that T29, and that was the game-winning shot basically. Because basically when he killed that T29 and reset the cap, the enemy could have actually capped out with that T29 sitting there. But he took that shot and made sure that he won the game, because the enemy couldn't get their tanks into the cap in enough time to actually cap out completely. He received 26,970 credits on a premium account, and he got an extra 10,000 credits because it's a personal missions payout. So his after ammunition resupply, his grand total comes to 27,970 credits. He received 800 XP, and it was ×2 for the first victory of the day, and he got a personal missions payout of 400. So his total came to 2,000 experience points altogether. But I'm sure he'd be most happy about getting that Kolobanov. You know, it was very, very lucky in the end that the clock ran out in enough time. But it's very peculiar, that error in the clock where it actually still said 13 seconds still to go, and yet there was still enemy nearby, because they had actually started capping at the very moment that the game ended. So very peculiar that they didn't try to kill him, because he was fairly close to the cap when that happened. Anyway, that aside, well done xachan, congratulations on getting a Kolobanov, and if you enjoyed this replay, please give it a like and do subscribe to our channel, and hopefully it'll be your replay that I'll be featuring in our next video.